Ironworker's life is full of thrills. You work up high where the footings mill. You build the bridges and the towers tall. The pay you get seems mighty small. Hear the blast of the rivet gun. It's all work now, no more fun. The heater's mad, the boss is so. He says, rivets, man, go get some more. Sling that rigging and sling it fast. Make that connection tight and fast. If you've been born a millionaire, you wouldn't have to work in the cold, cold air. Blackie and Brownie and Whitey and Red, some of the boys are already dead. They gave their life for the work they loved. The fate now rests with the man up above.
We're J.W's out of Madison, but we are rod busters. Rod busters and sod busters, Southwest Wisconsin.
They're building a beam, and it's, the engineer on the print specified a certain number of bars and a certain spacing and a certain, and a certain lap between them. And so that's all they're doing is filling up these stirrups with the required number of bars.
I'm coming your way. Watch your toes. Watch your toes. Oh, man. Oh, good.
We're what's called a mixed local. There's a lot of areas of ironwork that get done, and depending on where you are in the country, and depending on what type of work the contractor you're working for specializes in, would then determine what kind of work you're doing. I mean, we do everything from the placing of reinforcing iron for concrete structures, reinforced concrete structures, which would be rebar, tying iron, placing that iron, to setting a structural steel. That's your classic picture that most people have of ironworkers, guys sitting high in the sky, on beams and columns and actually building the skeleton of a steel building. We move machinery. We install machinery and do heavy rigging for power plants and turbines, build bridges, hospitals, schools.
Ironworkers didn't get along with a lot of people because they were too independent. Basically comes from being off the ground and working in the air. And they just tell everybody else where to go and get out of our way. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And they were the Fightin'est group of the trades. That was their history from way back when the Empire State Building and that was built way back in.
The guys like to drink a lot.
Hell, we've been in the tavern at 6 a.m. if we can find an open one. It's warmer in there. And they got cold beer. It's just kind of the way we operate. I know a few guys that operate it and they quit, they're sober, it's fine. They're still good ironworkers, don't get me wrong. You don't have to be a drunken bastard to be up there with us or be even around us, but it's, to me, I think it helps.
Bernie and I had worked down in Cedar Rapids when we were on strike one time, and so he was the kind of guy when he'd get up in the morning, he'd grab his lunch pail, his wife always made his lunch, and out the door he'd go. Well, we're sitting there having coffee in the shack, and he opens up his lunch pail. Of course, we all had, the old aluminum pails. Nobody carried. They didn't have coolers then, like that. And he bites into a sandwich, and he says, "Son of a bitch. His wife had taken labels off the Pabst bottles and put them between bread because he had gotten home late, and that's what he had for his sandwiches.
Plus, I still always say the best incentive was a good wife and a healthy mortgage. Could make you go to work. You're getting your ass out of bed and going to work. We got a house payment this week, and that's why guys would get mad. I'd actually just soon talk to the wife, and because they're, they say what you want. They know how to control the guy's work, in whatever way they do that.
Say one thing, ironworkers, they have to be of a certain personality, I think, I have found out over the years. They are guys that see things a certain way. And if you ever looked in their magazine, I don't know, there might even be one here.
Oh, there's several over here.
And they show jobs from other parts of the country, and then they will show pictures of the guys and that. It doesn't matter where you go, where they're from. They all dress the same.
Everybody has their things that they claim that is their work, your jurisdiction. This is what we do. And the Carpenters, we've always been at odds with them a little bit because of the fact that we were doing the things up in the air that were. I think there was the ironworker always felt, he was a little bit special compared to other crafts on the job.
I don't want to be a carpenter and I don't want to be a bricklayer. He says, what do you want to be? And I said, I want to be an ironworker. Oh, Jesus. What do you want to be an ironworker for? He said, yeah, because him and ironworkers never got along. Ironworkers didn't get along with a lot of people because they were too independent.
I just started laughing, and Tim DeMenter, my BA there, he's got any problems back there, Wood? I said, no, it's all right, man. I'll tell you later. So he hits me up after the meetings. What seemed to be so funny in there? I said, you know what? I badmouth carpenters too, but you're up there. Order, with a wooden fucking hammer and a wooden fucking ballot box, and we're ironworkers. That ain't right. So somehow my cocky and my mouth got me delegated to, oh, you want to build a ballot box then, huh?
I had one close encounter. We were working on a creamery about 90 feet high up in Stratford, and we had a beam coming in, and they had a rope tied on one end of it, and I was kind of sitting on a corner of a building, which I wasn't tied off back in them days, like I say, and it was really windy that afternoon. I mean, it was probably gusting 25, 30 miles an hour. And when the beam came down, I'm sitting on a corner, the rope started going down, so I grabbed it, and then a big gust of wind came, and the rope kind of wrapped around me, and I started going over, but I grabbed down with one hand and just threw it over my head. But that was about the closest I ever came.
And we were doing a job in Janesville, and I was going from one beam or bar joist to another, and I got hooked up with a tool that I always carried on my pants. And so I fell down to the first floor and straddled the beam when I hit, and my face came ahead and smashed onto the iron. And I taught OSHA classes for a long time, and I always joke with the guys that the reason I teach these classes is because I've had so many accidents that I know exactly what you should or shouldn't do.
And we were putting the metal roof on a building. I was the man on the ground feeding them all the material and everything, and moving the scaffold along. That's a safety protection. So if they slide off, they'll have that scaffold to land on and that. He wanted me to move the wagon ahead. This way if you slip, you'll still be protected. 2 sheets later, here he comes off the roof. The sheet took off that When they picked the one sheet up, he stepped on the bundle and that top sheet slid.
Ooh.
And here he was coming off the building on top of the sheet. The forklift was parked right there, just right, and he came off and he was sitting on the sheet, and it slammed into the nosing of the forklift, and then with his body weight on it, it buckled the sheet, and when that, or off the tires and landed on the ground with him on it, it whipped him backwards, sliced his whole throat from back to front from the edge of the sheet when it whipped him back like that, and it just laid him wide open all the way around. And it took me quite a while until the fire trucks got there to get him to stop bleeding, and they wanted to take it all apart, you know, my wrapping that I had around his neck and that, and I just held tight compression on it again, but I was covered in blood, the whole front of me and everything, and I told the fireman, I said, don't unwrap that till you get to the hospital. I said, I just now got it to stop bleeding. Well, we gotta look and see what it is, and I said, well, they opened it up again. Well, they couldn't get it stopped. And they took off to the hospital as fast as they could go then. But that's a long ride.
Yeah.
From the far east side of Madison back up to the other side of the square to the hospital.
Everybody's got kind of their own way of doing things, but you learn how to, work with the other person, because obviously you're with them, more than you're with even your family at home, so they become your brothers, and, we're brothers and sisters in the ironworker hood, or whatever you want to call it, but you just know how to work with people, and you kind of find that common ground where, everybody gets along, and, you worked with them for years and years and years, so they become your family during the day, and you go home to your family at night. So you're worried about safety and their well-being, as well as if they're not going to show up for work one day because their kids are sick or whatever. And you get real close with them.
Not everybody wants to be an ironworker. It's cold. The wind blows. You still work. The equipment's much better. It's cold. It's miserable. You're going to hurt. You're never on flat ground. But, God, it's fun.
You're just proud of what you see when you drive around town. Like I've always said, if we can't have fun at work, why?
I was quite independent, and I liked being up there because you're in the air, you're your own boss. I liked it. I really did. And I like climbing. I still like climbing. I really loved my trade. I did.
You sit way up there in the sky and watch the birds go flying by, and then sometimes you wonder why you get them ironworker blues. You get them ironworker blues. You wait for the boss to say come down, you wait for a job that's on the ground, you wait for payday to roll around, then you got ironworker blues. You get them ironworker blues. You hook a choker around the beam, the choker slips and the pusher screams. It's sure enough to make you mean. Then you get ironworker blues. You get them ironworker blues. You put your spud wrench in the hole and someone hollers, hold the roll. It seems they want your very soul. And you got ironworker blues. You get them ironworker blues. Take your rod wrench from your hip, the wire breaks and you hit your lip. It's near enough to make you quit, then you get ironworker blues. You get them ironworker blues. seems that you can't never gain. It's either gotta snow or rain, or you get so cold you feel no pain, then you got iron.